My name's Don Everson. I'm a detective lieutenant with the Mitchell Police Department.
All right, I've got a few questions here for you. What factors makes it more difficult to recall specific details of events of a case once you've witnessed something and you have to recall it later on?
You know, that's not an easy question. It determines, first of all, on the severity of the incident. We've had bank robberies where they've occurred over the noon hour, and people were going out to lunch, so they were thinking about going to lunch, and they drove right by a bank robber, and they didn't even see anything. You know, had it happened at a different time of day, it might have made a difference. There's a lot of factors. Some people are visual people. Some people remember by going back to the scene and looking at what happened. Some people just are a detailed person that notice eyes or whatever. It varies on the person, the event, the time of day, the weather conditions. If it's a windy, terrible rainy day, people are probably less observant than they would on a sunny, nice day in the summertime.
Okay.
There are a lot of factors that determine that.
And then how do investigators and police determine the credibility of eyewitness testimony?
Some of it's common sense. If we're talking to an older person that looks like they can't see 5 foot in front of them, you know, you were going to look at that and say, okay, we might want to go to, if they're saying, for instance, they saw somebody cross the street from the corner of the building, we might want to go to the corner of the building and just see if we can see the same distance they saw very clearly. Some of it's common sense. Some of it is, you know, a gut feeling that maybe something isn't right, and then they look at it a little closer.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not readily apparent that there might be credibility issues until the scene's reenacted.
Okay. Also, what types of methods do investigators and police use in eyewitness testimonies to record the information, such as notes, cameras, snapshots, anything like that?
Depending on the case, we've used photo lineups, for example, to identify specific individuals, and that has to be done in a certain manner. Also, we can't just put a picture out in front of a witness and say, is this the person? That's impermissibly suggested. We're basically, if we did that, we'd be pointing and more or less directing you to identify somebody. A lot of times you use a photo lineup that consists of the picture of the bad guy and probably 5 other people with similar features. They don't have to look alike, they have to have similar features. You know, for example, our bad guy can't have a mustache and go in 5 people without a mustache. You know, because that would make someone pick out the person that we want them to. We can't do that. We don't want to do it. It's not helpful to a police to do that. But typically, with the photo lineup, if we use that, we'll read a document on the back that I can give you one to take with you. We'll tell people that the group of photos may or may not include the suspect in this case. They're under no obligation to identify anyone. And a lot of times we'll have someone close their eyes, and we'll lay the photo lineup in front of them, then we'll back up from it, and so our finger's not, you know, pointing at somebody or whatever, and then we'll say, open your eyes and look at it. And then that's one method. There's some people, we call events by closing their eyes and just going through, you know, the first thing that happened and walking through it in a different way. They might remember something they heard or saw. People are different. I guess you have to talk to the person and find out if they're a visual person and find out how good their memory is. Some people will never remember anything that happened yesterday or in a traumatic event. They might not remember anything from it. Everyone's different.
Okay, and then how effective is eyewitness testimony in court proceedings? How are the lineups used in finding the criminal? Are they, I guess, do you always take their word for truth, or is it kind of the gut feeling thing again?
Well, we want to corroborate everything our witnesses are saying. We want to try to match it up to the evidence. It doesn't always happen. Usually after a big event, it's not uncommon for there not to be any leads. There might not be a suspect right away. There might not be anything really to go on but eyewitness statements. And then we're basically trying to verify or discard those statements through the investigation, whether that's collecting fingerprints, other crime scene evidence being collected. But yeah, a lot of times we'll have a major crime with no suspects, and we're trying to sort through meaningless information and get it something that we can use.
And then also, how do investigators determine whether the eyewitness testimony is distorted, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, like somebody you knew was purposely lying about it, and, or like you said, in a traumatic situation, they may not remember, and they may have false memories of it? Do you run into that a lot?
Sometimes it's determined by reviewing multiple witness statements. For example, the bank robbery statement, the bank robbery incident is probably the easiest one to use for an example. There may have been more than one person coming out of the bank the same time the bank robber did. And so one person might say the person was wearing a blue shirt and blue jeans, and as far as the clothing description, the next person might say, no, they were wearing a red t-shirt and shorts, and then hopefully there's enough people, if 4 people saw someone come out, with one description versus the other, that one might be more credible than the other. And then some people are good with times. We will compare that to surveillance video and look at different angles and see if someone is confused for the bank robbery, and then combine that with more direct statements from other people. It's sometimes you don't know until the end that those statements not credible.
Okay. And then do you guys also run into a lot of wrongful convictions, or can you not talk about that kind of stuff?
I can't remember a single case that we've had, but most of the wrongful convictions that I've heard about relied on a single witness, and there was no corroborating evidence, such as DNA or that type of thing. If a case is relying on one witness to make the case, it's a pretty weak case to begin with.
Okay.
And I don't anticipate we go to trial on something based on one witness's identification.
Okay, I think that's all I got for you for information.
You bet. And would you want to pull a line up to tape?
Sure, yeah.
I've got an empty one here.